Hey everyone, welcome to our Render Spaz video tutorial. And today we are going to create this espresso machine that you see here in front of you, and pretty much going through the basics of creating the shapes, the made shapes, and everything pretty much besides this wonderful looking coffee glass or mug. So other than that, you guys are going to be creating all of this from scratch. And we're going to go into the materials of Arnold and start to build ourselves this nice looking car paint shader, technically, with some flakes. We're going to go with the chrome. We're going to do all the stuff, all the bells and whistles of this thing. So let's get started. And what we're going to do is take this reference image and scale it down just a bit, just so we can kind of get a smaller, so it's not too big right now. We're not going to worry about real world scale at the moment. We're just going to try to get this in position so that we can start working with our main elements of the object. So once we have this in place, what we can do is just so that nothing slides around, we can go in here into object properties, and we're going to come down into display as box. Freeze. We're going to freeze it and take off show as gray. This way everything's locked in, and we're going to start focusing kind of on this top area here. So this is the base, or pretty much the base mesh that we're going to use, and then we're just going to then do some duplication and just try to get all the main shapes going. So let's get over to start using a box shape here. And so we're just in the top view, and we're going to I'm just going to unfreeze that for a minute and just drag this over, just so we can get a little bit more room. Just freeze it again. And so what we're going to do is focus on the middle area here of the grid, and we're just going to roughly drag out a box. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of drag up just to kind of get some height, and we're going to just bring this to the top, and we're just going to try to line this up to where the seam line is towards the chrome parts. So we're just going to try to get it down a little bit here. So this is where pretty much our crease is going to be, at least our crease line. Okay, and then just going to move this in towards the center, like so. Try to match this side. Now, the thing with this reference image, it's got a little bit of a perspective to it, but I'm just using this as a guide more or less than worrying about if it's an orthographic image or not. So we're just going to try to kind of guess some of the height and the length of things. Okay, so once we have a rough shape like this, we can now start to, what we'll do is we'll come over here, we'll just rename. I'll just call it something like top body for now. I'm going to change the color. Let's get a nice blue for now. Then we're going to convert it to editable poly. We're going to remove the bottom face. And I'm going to use the open subdivision here. We'll bring up the iterations, so just to kind of see how smooth we can get things. I mean, that's looking pretty good so far. We just have to do some little bit of polling and tweaking, which we can start to modify, but just bring down iterations a bit for now, just so we can work with it a little bit easier here. Take off isolation, or sorry, isoline display. So what I'm going to do is select all the edges here. I'm just going to connect and just get the middle line. Okay. Now if you want, you could use symmetry. For this point, I'm just going to use, for this part, I'm just going to use the, I'm just going to take each vertex here and just kind of scale it like so. For now, I'm not going to worry about too much symmetry at this moment. So I'm going to scale it on the Y a little bit here. Maybe let's grab these points and go on the X. We'll hit ring and make a connection, and then we'll just kind of scale this uniformly across so that it kind of just tapers out at the bottom. Okay, so now we're starting to get a little bit more closer to the shape, but we'll have to bring some of these guys down. So we're going to just select all these vertices on the top and just kind of start to bring them in like so to kind of just follow the guideline or the line of the reference image. Grab this top section as well and just kind of drag it over. All right, and we're just getting our shape. All right, so we're just going to fine tune this a little bit more, and we should be very close. It's actually looking pretty good right now. So it's looking good from the side angle here. So what I'm going to do is select these bottom edges and just drag them down. All right, so this way now we can just use this this mesh now to create our second part of the espresso machine. What we're going to do is select the face, just make sure everything is selected and detach for that bottom half. So now we got the two divided, and I'm just going to center our pivot here to that object, and now we can call this essentially, let's grab this guy and just drag it down a bit. That way we're going to see the seam line. Something like this. So we're going to do the same thing here at the bottom, as we're going to just bring this up or drag it in the X. Or actually, maybe I'll just select all these. Hold on a minute here. Let's go to ring and connect. And now if we drag this bottom guy over, there we go. We're going to start to get that nice little bevel there. Rounded edge, rounded front piece there. All right, just drag those lines down. Let's turn on our subdivisions and see how smooth everything's starting to look here. So we kind of want the front to be like something like this. So we're dragging it down. So I feel like pretty much this whole edge will have to come down. What we can do is we can line it up so that it's very close. So they're lined up. So if I want here, I can come down and copy the Z coordinates and just copy them into here and paste. And now we got them on the same distance, height distance. All right, so now once we have that guy all set up, we can now start to just kind of bring this out a little bit more and just kind of rough out more of the shape, get it closer to the image. I'm just gonna let's grab the axis, make sure that these are the same, and they are, right? Because I want this to be flush here at the bottom, or at the back part of this. I want these guys to all be in the same X coordinates. All right, so this looks pretty good so far. We got this tapering down a bit too at the bottom. But what I want to do is select it some more here, and you can see it's very straight from the front view. So what we got to do is bring it in like so. And what I need to do is, yes, of course you could use the symmetry. I'm just gonna grab these guys, just bring them in like this. Right, roughly like that. Since it comes down, it looks pretty good. So far now we got a decent looking shape here. let's grab these edges and let's try to bring, see if I go to vertice mode here and just try to see if I can round this off a little bit more. Drag it in by the Y. It's not looking too bad though. It's maybe something like this has a little bit more of tapers down a little bit more like that. Alright, so what we're going to do now is focus on this bottom section here where we have the part where it's pretty much that section that comes down. So we're going to have to close this off. So I'm going to just go into, see if I can, thinking of bridging. Yeah, let's take this section here. All right, this edge. Okay. So we take these guys and hit bridge. Close this off. Another way you could do it is you could cap it, and then you'll have to add another edge. But for now, this is I think just by bridging will work. Just gonna grab this guy. All right, so we'll close that off. And what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to sharpen this up right here. So as you can see, that's it's quite sharp. This is very rounded, so we're gonna have to add another supporting loop here, or supporting edge. So I'm going to grab this edge here and just hit ring, connect. Now we got an extra on here, and then we're just going to bring this down. You'll see right away this is going to tighten that bottom part up, and now it's a little bit more of a crease there. One thing I did notice too is that it's very rounded at the back here as it kind of tapers around. So if I just go and add an extra edge here going across and bring it, you can see we're tightening up that back piece. So what that's going to have to do is we're going to have to add an additional edge towards our top section here too as well. So let's go here and select all these edges. Okay, technically what we're doing is we're ringing those edges all the way around, and we are, whoops, let's grab the edge, let's grab them all, and let's hit connect. And then we got a middle. What we're going to do is just scale this way just to straighten it out, and just start dragging it on the edge constraint just to try to see if we can get it to tighten up and match. So let's just see here what we're up against. So this guy, we might have to just pull it over a little bit. Yeah. As long as we're following, you can see now things are changing a bit. We're getting a little bit high up in this area, so that's okay because we can start to bring these guys down as well. So I'm just going to grab this here, drag it down. All right, because now we're changing the shape a bit by adding more detail or more edges. Go. All right, so we're also going to do the same thing here, and we're going to connect, and then we're just going to drag this edge towards the front just to kind of make this a little bit more uniform. Drag this down. Pretty close. Alright, so we'll then just go and select some of these edges here. Let's connect and bring an additional edge loop here and just drag this to match. All right, so this way the profile between both of the mesh will match, and they're not going to have anything because we want everything to be kind of lined up with it, with the edge here. All right, so that looks pretty good so far, and we have like now the top section here that seems to be working well. I just want to select these top edges here. Let's convert those, or let's move those over to the vertice mode here, and then just kind of scale them in a little bit, just to round off the top section a little. Now we'll just copy this bottom section here, and let's just drag it down to create our base. It's where the coffee mugs and all that will sit on. So just gonna roughly get it about here. And so this is great because now once we have this shape all lined up, we can actually start to, well, the top shape that we had, we can now use this to now modify. Everything looks very similar when it comes to the shapes themselves, so just a little bit of modifications to get it to where this will look like the bottom section is pretty straightforward. So we'll just grab these points. Maybe what I'll do here is grab these top sections, bring them down, maybe just to this edge here, and this guy can slightly come down a little bit more. Edge mode. We don't want that on. Let's bring this down here like so. What I'm going to do is just remove these the bottom faces for now. Because I'm going to have an additional piece that's going to be the bottom. You can see there's kind of like there's a seam line there, so we'll just keep that in mind. But for now, I just want to bring this guy to closer to the edge here and start lining up these parts here. All right, so now that we have our shape pretty much in place, what we got to do now is create that top section here. But pretty much the shape looks like this. All right, I have it kind of just pretty much like a band going around. For now, like there's just a pretty simple shape. But now I'm going to cap the top, and now what we got to do is come over to our face mode here. Let's select our, actually I'm going to make the cuts first, so I'm just going to connect these guys together, and let's go inset. So if we do an inset, this is going to give us a nice edge here on the top. Drag that in like so, and we'll go to vertice mode here. We're just going to need to make a quick cut just to towards the center here, and we have something like this. All right, so now let's grab these vertices here. Let's just see what we have to do. Go to the front view, I can grab these guys and bring them inwards, or actually I might bring them out more straight, right? Because it doesn't really taper in. I think it's just pretty much, it's pretty straight. I think that makes sense. So you can see here we have this top section here where we're going to have to maybe just bring this out a little bit more just to round it off. Yeah, it's a little bit straight here, so I'm just going to bring it up a bit and I should round it down. There we go. Let's push these inwards, and now we're going to get a little bit more of a rounded shape. Let's take a look at the top view here and just make sure these guys kind of make more sense here. If I grab that guy here, all of the top sections here, I got the wrong one. On the bottom. Let's go back to the top view here. Let's bring those guys in. hit ring. We're going to connect. Obviously, I don't really have to be on edge mode, but that's okay. I'm just so used to working with the constraints that I put them on, no matter what. So I don't want anything to move. But this will do. I think this is gonna looks closer to the shape. I just wanted to tighten up the edges there on the top, just so it's not too round. All right, so we're gonna go to the top section here, and we're gonna add a chamfer box. And this is going to be pretty much our water container that holds the water in. So we're just going to rough out the shape a bit here. So we have it here. We just got to move it up. Kind of get it on top of this surface here. And we're going to then bring up our height a bit. Let's just try to rough out the shape here. Okay, so that looks it's pretty wide, so we're going to have to move our width up a bit. Okay, and I want to try to stay flush towards the back here, so I'm going to keep that in mind. So as we're going to bring this up, let's just try to it's a little bit wider, bring it in. We really just want to keep it flush with that back there. We want those guys to kind of connect together to look like almost that it's, yeah, pretty much all lined up there. Something like this should do. Alright, so now that we have everything in place, I'm just going to add a open subdivision towards the water container here, and that's so far we got a nice little bit of we have a roughed out shape here. So let me bring it down a bit. You can see here everything is looking pretty good, and that's where the water's going to fit in there. And somehow we'll have to make that look like it would actually exist. I'm gonna bring up these edges a little bit. Maybe I can make it a little bit more angular, something like that. But if you notice, it is a little bit rounded. So let's just round off those corners. Maybe I got too much edge here. So let's just go into these guys. Let's see here. What I'll do is here's a chamfer. Maybe just gonna do something like that. There we go. It's a little softer. Okay. One thing I noticed is this is not center, so let's just center this out. Actually, everything is out of line here, so what I want to do is just kind of center this all in the grid. I'm just going to grab each of these elements. Let's center the pivots. Should have did this at the beginning, but pretty much what you want to do is just make sure all of these elements are zeroed out in the Y. Something like that. Alright, so we'll widen this water container just a bit, just to kind of get in line with the bottom sections of the top parts there of the chrome elements. And that seems to be lined up pretty good. I want to just bring that a little bit forward. But we have a little bit of this edge. Maybe what I should do is round that guy off a bit. Because you can see that you want to follow the curvature of the back elements here. So let's just, and we have also an edge there. So let's add an edge here to our water container as well. We'll hit ring, connect, and we'll just drag. Let's see here. It's going to go back. So you see the. Oh. Okay, we'll just drag this in X. Should just round it off just a little bit. Right. Bring it out just a little bit more. Grab these guys as well. Let's bring them in. Alright, something like that. It's looking pretty good. Alright, so this looks a little bit rounded down, so I want to fix that by just grabbing these points. So, as you can see in the reference image, it's a little bit more straight, so let's just try to get that a little bit more straighter. Just have a look over here. Okay, so that's looking better. And this guy also has to now be fixed, so we're just going to have to pull that out just a bit. Okay, something like that. To do the same thing to the top, just so that everything lines back up. Okay, I'm just really gonna try doing this by eye a little bit here. Just take a look at the edge. I think that looks okay. It was just very subtle, but enough that it straightened it out a little bit back there. And so that's looking good. All right. So now we're gonna focus on that. Let's see here. Before I get into the, really looking forward to getting to the middle area there. Before I do that, I just want to grab a couple more things here. Let's grab these bottom edges and bring them up. Actually, what I'm going to do instead, let's grab them. Let's actually bring them down, and let's add that bottom piece there. And then let's get all this in shape. Alright, so once we got that in place, now we just separate the elements like we've done in the past with the rest of the body parts. So now pretty much we have a nice separation to the bottom, and we have that crease line, so that's going to work for when we start adding the detail there. Right now we have our water container in, and we have our top sections in there, so this is starting to take shape, and yeah, we can start to really kind of get into this area now, the part I was looking forward to. And then we also have to create this handle and the area where the coffee goes and all that. So and the little the faucet area, the part where the coffee comes out, and our little handle here I'll also add as well. So as I'm just kind of inspecting what we're going to have to do here, and how we're going to approach this, we're going to come and select this middle vertice here. Okay, we can use this as a reference or a start. What we're going to do is I'm going to go into chamfering, and we can bring this up a bit, so we get kind of like the star. But if we bring out the depth of the vertex depth, we're going to see we can round this off, so that we get a nice circular pattern here. So right, this is going to be a little bit more uniform. We want to go to that approach. So I'm going to go with connecting now. What I'll have to do is do some connections here, but pretty much this is a great start. So what we're going to do is we'll go over to our cut tool. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our cut tool here, and we'll just go like this here and just drag to these corners, making sure we are keeping our quads. So we'll go over here, and this guy will have to go way back here. Alright, we'll do that to this side as well. Okay, that's going to be great. So now we'll just have to pretty much take everything here, this whole area. We're going to grow, and once we grow it up this way, we can start to scale, and we just want to keep this flush. We don't want to, we want to make sure that it does not it stays pretty much on the Z. We don't want anything to there. Now once we drag this down, okay, maybe I'll just create an edge here just so we get a crease, and then we'll extrude it one more time, and that'll give us a start here. So you can see we're way off in our positioning here, but we can fix that. So we'll just grow this area up a little bit more. Okay, keep this pretty uniform. We don't want to have any bends. So I'm just going to drag this over until we get it to an area where we feel like that seems to work. Alright, so you can see we are bending it a little bit, but we'll fix that in just a moment. So I'm going to see here, I'm going to grow this a little bit here. Let's bring it down. So I'm just going to kind of pull it down so it gets about to the edge there. Okay, we're going to connect this so we can tighten the bottom up. All right. Something like this. All right, that's starting to work. It's pretty clean. You don't see anything. There's a little bit of unevenness there on the bottom. I'm gonna have to address that, but right now we're just gonna try to get a roughed out shape here. All right, so let's go to face mode here, or actually, yeah, we want to go to face. Let's grab these guys. Let's bring it out just a bit. And then what I want to do is we want to pretty much bevel this inwards. So let's see here, hold on a minute. So I want all of these guys, okay? Let's grab all of those guys. Inset. Okay, I got an idea here. This guy's kind of giving us some trouble, so I'm going to select it, all the edges here. Let's wipe it out. Okay, so we have it like this. Now, let's go to face mode, then inset. So this way it's going to create us a nice little edge there. And then what we're going to do is bring this in, something like that. Hold shift and drag up. Actually, hold on a minute. Let's do an inset before we do that. This way I'll get a nice little edge. And then holding shift, or dragging it up. Don't hold shift at this point, sorry. You just have to add that extra edge and just pull up, and that should give us the right extrude here. So let's grab these guys. Let's go inset here one more time so we get that nice sharp edge at the in the bottom there, as you can see. And then this, now what I've done was I copied out one of the faces there, made a copy of that, so we can now use this as a reference for creating our bottom section of where that little, what you want to call it, but where it's going to hold the coffee, and then we're going to have the handle attached to that as well. All right, so we're going to just drag this up and start to kind of get this in shape as well. All right, so now that we have that piece in, we can start to begin to get a little bit of rendering going on here. So we're going to start to, as we have enough of a build of the model, I'm going to now start to work with materials and then still model as we go. And then that way it just keeps things a little bit more interesting. You don't have to do it this way. I like to work this way sometimes. I like to just start to see some lighting and some material results, and then I can start to add to the model as I go. So right now I'm just going to set up an IPR on the side here just so I can get some something to work with here. And I wanted to keep the output size small enough that it will render quick. And just for preview sake, we get something like this. Let's see here. now. We can go to test resolution. Maybe something like this. You just want to get a preview size, okay? Alright, so what we're going to do is we are going to add a Arnold Skydome light with an HDRI map plugged in. Just going to drag this over, and now we can start to get everything all set up. I'm going to go to color management. Let's go to put in our ACES. Right, you don't have to use ACES if you don't like to. Alright, so I actually see that as a default. Alright, so we'll select our map here. I think we lost what's going on with this here. Oh, no, we're good, we're good. Alright, drag this out. See, everything's a little bit darker. So our contrast went up a bit. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a GPU. We're not going to go with CPU this time. We're going to use the GPU, and let's see what we can get. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to our light properties here, and what I want to do is focus on getting the exposure to come up a little bit, just so that we can brighten up the scene. Something like this. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a color correction node onto the HDRI image and just brighten that up, and then also gray it out just a bit, or desaturate the colors. And now, once that's all complete, I can now add in some of the material. So we're going to start off with creating our chrome material here. So I'm just going to create a standard surface material, and then we can bring up our metalness a bit here, and now you can start to see we're getting a little bit more of that chrome look here. So we're just gonna okay, get something like this as a start. Alright, so we're gonna play with the roughness a bit, tighten it up so that it's just a little bit more glossy. Right now it's really taken in a lot of our environment, and the environment is pretty dark, so this really will change based off of your HDRI image. But I believe this will help us for now. Even though that it's this dark right now, I'm not too focused on complete accuracy of it, but it gives you kind of a sense of how things are looking here. But you can see how dark it is. So by bringing the roughness up a little bit, you can see we start to kind of get more of that silvery look, something like this. If we want, we can come down into the clear coat. We can add clear coat to the top section so that it's just pretty a little bit more glossiness. Alright, we get a little more of that, and 0.1 or so on our specular roughness and our metalness. Let's see, we're playing around, try to get something 0.97. It's not looking too bad. And again, if we just go right up to 1, it still looks good as 1 looks good to me. Alright, so it's good enough for a start here. Okay, let's unhide the, just want to see what it looks like with the image here. Okay, so I think this here has got some glossiness to it. So let's unhide or unfreeze this reference image here. Just going to select it, and I can see that we have that reflection on. Let's take it off, and there. Now that makes it a little bit easier to see what we're working with. But pretty much, yeah, that's looking pretty good. So far, so good. Okay, I'm just going to wipe those out. We can kind of tweak a little bit more of the chrome material. Alright, so we're going to focus now on the top section, and we're going to apply material, almost like a car paint material. So what we're going to do is go into our materials, surface, and I'm going to use the car paint shader for the top, because it has like a little bit of a flake to it, based off the reference image. So I'm going to try to stick with that kind of look for now. And yeah, I think that'll be kind of, no, I think that'll be cool. So we always get our little standard red shader here going. I'm just going to apply that to the bottom as well. Those are the sections that are going to have the main body color. So right now we're just going to find an area where we can work with here. And so we're trying to get, it's almost like a bluish, almost like gunmetal with a blue tint to it. So I'm going to try to aim for something like that. And get something looking pretty close here, okay? So our base color is something like this bluish, maybe even a little bit darker. Alright, so now what we're going to do is go over to our flakes, and we're just going to play with the scaling a bit, and we're going to have to get a little bit more of a color towards that blue. Something maybe like this, darken it up a bit. Don't want too much, just a little bit of detail there. So we'll hit OK. And right now, because I have a noise, a denoiser on, it's gonna like kind of look a little bit mushy. But once everything starts to refine in the render, you really start to see those flakes come through. So right now, it doesn't look too good because it's dealing with the denoiser, which actually looks like almost like there's noise on the render. So it's an interesting, part of it when it comes to the flakes, because it does look like a noise. Right now, yeah, this is starting to look pretty nice. I'm just going to mess around with the settings a bit here. Okay, and we're going to try to get something a little more closer to our reference image. More towards the purple tones. Density may be too high, so it's a 0.1, and that's starting to, yeah, those are starting to come through, starting to look a little better. I don't want to go too extreme with the flakes. You can see when I do play with the scale, you can see the flakes, how they react, and as I'm bringing this down, it's getting a little bit more refined. They're also getting a lot more, there's a lot more density there. Alright, so now that the flakes are in place here, we can now begin to just get a little bit of some noise going on into the surface of our clear coat, because it does have a little bit of like almost like an eggshell, like a car would. So we're going to focus on the coat normal. So drag out a node here, and we're going to go for the bump 3D node, and then from there we're going to pull out a bump map. We're going to go to where is it here? Oh, I don't know why I'm lost, but we're going to go to texture, we're going to go to noise, and you're going to see we're going to get some breakup here, and we can now obviously we're going to have to get the scaling correct and all that, but let's see here, let's do that. Okay, so once we have that, I've went and put the scale to 5 across everything here uniformly. I've also then played with the octaves. I put them at 3, and just brought down some of the amplitude. We just wanted to bring that down. Maybe I'll even try to go to 0.2 with this, or sorry, go to 2 and see what we get. It's looking pretty good. 0.8 will give us 1 here. So what I'm doing is just focusing on that little reflection there, and you can see we get that quite a bit of a breakup. So that's maybe a little bit too much, but let's bring down our coat maybe. Actually, let's bring this down to about 0.5. We can give ourselves a little bit more roughness to the coat. Alright, so that's starting to look pretty good. we're getting closer here. We can obviously do some final tweaks later on, but that's the chrome and the color of the paint and all that looks pretty good. So now we can focus on this water container. We're going to do like a smoked dark glass with this one. So let's add a shell modifier. Okay, and it's a little bit too much on our outer, so maybe we'll do is focus on the inner parts of it here. Let's just bring this out a bit so we get some thickness. So this way when we apply our glass material, everything, the refraction will make sense. Okay, so I'm just going to scale this up a bit so that it comes back into the body parts here. Alright, something like that. Okay, so what we have here is we applied a just a standard material with a transmission of 1, and now we pretty much have something like this. Okay, with a thickness of 0.003 of the shell modifier, so that's looking like that so far. So right now what we're seeing is when we look through, it looks a little bit strange. We got some black components into the top and bottom. So what we need to do to make sure that this is not happening, we got to come over into our ray depth settings here, okay, in the renderer, and we're just going to bring these maybe up to 4 for now. And you can see right away, you can see that now we're allowing the rays to come through, and we can properly see right through the glass now. So the refractions should make sense. There's a little bit of a distortion there, but we're just trying to keep it very pretty much not a lot of distortion when it comes to looking through the refraction or looking through the parts of the glass here. So to make this a little bit darker of a glass, what we're going to have to do is come down to our transmission. Let's bring it down to like 0.5 ish, maybe even 0.4. That's starting to look good. We don't need depth. Okay, I don't know. I don't think that's going to work. I was thinking of maybe making like kind of like a fog to it, but I don't think that's going to work anyways. So we're just going to stick with. I'm just curious to see, does it work? And it does in the GPU, which is good. But I think for this sake, we can keep it to white and no depth. All right, something like that. And we can play with this a little bit later. But I just was thinking more of it like a smoked or dark glass. The water would be in there. And then what we could do is add maybe like a back plate. That's going to be like maybe chrome or something that's going to be like half of this glass container. So actually let's just do that now. I'm going to come over to the side view here, and let's select right here these guys. Okay, hold control, go to face mode. All I really feel like doing here at this point is let's apply the chrome material. Alright, and let's just see what happens. I applied it to the back parts of these faces, and let's turn on our turbo smooth. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. Or sorry, our open subdivisions. So that's looking pretty good. Yeah, I'm liking the look of that. Alright. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just change our backdrop to a white. Okay, in the Arnold settings here, just so we can get just a little bit more of see what's going on. You can see how dark our HDR is here. So we're going to try to amp this up, and I'm using the color correction node just to kind of play with the settings a bit, just to get the maybe some brightness going here. So I'm messing with the gamma a little bit here. Let's see if I can get something a little bit more. You can see how like strong the light is on the reflections there. So I just want to make sure maybe even our exposure comes down a bit, and let's just play with the light a little bit and more of the HDR, see what kind of results we get. And what's great is I can actually even dial in the specular lighting a little bit. It's a 0.8. It's a little dark still. So we just gotta get some a little bit of fine tuning going on here. Bringing exposure back up. I'm starting to like that. And I just want to go into our gamma here. Okay, let's take our gamma and put it back to 1. And that's gonna be that's a little more natural. And our exposure, we can bring that up slightly. Now we're starting to kind of get there with the lighting a little bit here with it when it comes to the HDR. So we'll let's see, 0.5. Yeah, that's looking better there. Okay. Yes. And let's go maybe. I think that at 2, so that's looking good. 2.5. There we go. Let's see what happens, how our material is going to look here once we let it refine a bit. You can see we're very close to the reference. Obviously, when it comes to the lighting of the chrome, we're going to get that a little bit more in the gray tones, but for now, I'm not too worried about it. Let's put it on progressive. Do with anything, but we'll we can see that yeah, the detail's pretty good. If I amp up our A samples 24, I don't mind it to go for quite some time because I like to just see as it refines those details coming through of our I'm looking for our eggshell bumpness there. Let's see how that comes through, and that's looking good, and the flakes are looking good. And I believe for a final product render, this is going to look quite nice. Alright, we're going to begin with now creating our little plate here at the top, sections of our bottom plate, or bottom half. So I'm just going to grab these edges here and connect so I can start to begin where I want the this little grate to sit. Okay, so I'm gonna just bring these guys up a little bit. Start to take shape. So we're gonna go here, 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 and actually I'll bring this back a little bit. Let's grab these 4 faces. We're gonna inset. Something like this. Okay, I'm going to drag that back. And we're just going to hold shift and drag in on the Z. So we start to get a little bit of a dip. Let's see here. So you might want to just hold shift, drag in. Just want to have an edge there. Right, so now that we have an edge, it's gonna hold shift one more time. And what I'm doing is pretty much beveling each of the edges as I'm extruding down. This way we're gonna get some sharpness to the corners here. So you can see here as I go to the low poly form, you can see that there's those edges there. So all I was doing was holding shift and then tapering down and scaling and then holding shift again, and that's what was giving us the edges here. Alright, so the only issue here right now is that the top part is a little bit too high, so I'm just going to come in here. As you can see, it's a little bit hanging over, so I want it to actually be tapering inwards. Because yeah, this is kind of too flat, so I want it I want to bring it in a little bit. So let's just hold shift. Sorry, don't hold shift. Just scale inwards, and now you're going to get something like that. All right. grab these edges here, and we're going to connect. I'm just going to straighten them out by scaling them on the X. Okay, and you can see right now that's looking pretty good. And I also want to straighten these guys just to clean things up a bit, keep things pretty uniform. I'm going to connect here as well, straighten it out. Bring this back so you can see we're tightening up the corners a bit. Alright, and that's starting to take shape. Okay. Just want to maybe bring these guys inwards a little bit. Now what I want to do is grab these edges and let's also clean that up and try to get these all in line. Okay, I'm just going to take a moment now that after we've created that little indent in the plate there at the bottom, I'm just going to take a moment here to just go up to the top area here and let's just get these creases, the separation of the parts. Let's get some detail going in there. So let's add some edges to the top, these lines up in here, right? Because right now, as you can see, they're very straight, so we just got to select all the edges here, all right? And if we hold Shift and scale down, we're going to create an edge, and we can bring it down just a bit. But what you're going to notice, this is just one way of doing it. You're going to notice to be a little bit, let's see, just chamfer that edge. Actually, it might look okay. I thought there was going to be a little bit of distortion, but actually there is a little bit. No, it's actually not too bad just by doing that. So you can see we get a little bit of a highlight there, and that looks more realistic. So and that gives us that cool detail. So we can do the same thing with pretty much each component. So that technique right there, all I got to do is by selecting the edge, holding Shift and scaling it down, you're going to get a little bit of an edge here. So what I was worried about for the top part, where I was talking about making sure, you just want to make sure you scale uniform like this here in the corner as best as you can. You don't want to be too sloppy with it. You just want it to be nice and neat. And make sure you're on try mode here, and then just get a little extra edge. So then when I go back to our open subdivisions, you can see that you get this nice little edge here, and that looks very detailed. That's pretty much how I do the door lines on cars and all that, so it's pretty much that same technique. Alright, so let's do the bottom and move on. Alright, so once the bottom's complete, it's pretty much the same way of doing it that I did on the top. We can now focus on this bottom plate. So I'm going to go over, just going to finish this up here. Alright, scale it in Y. There you go, you got something like this. Grab that edge, chamfer. Okay, I don't need any roundness, just want one angular edge like so. And let's apply our open subdivisions. Okay. As you see, we got that nice little highlight going on. That's a little bit too close over there. Actually, the edge does stick out. I noticed that, so we can go in and do a little tweak here. Grab these guys. Let's bring it out. There we go. So you get that lip. Just bring it in just a bit. There we go. You see that little highlight. That's what I'm looking for. We're going to do that to the front as well. Let's grab all of these guys. Just drag it out a bit. Okay, wonderful. Alright, so now what we're going to do is let's focus on creating this little handle here that goes alongside, that you would hold the handle as you're putting in the coffee. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to fix this guy up a bit. So let's do some cleanup here. So I'm just going to speed up this section real quick, as all I'm doing here is just cleaning up some of the mesh so that we don't have any bumps or anything like that. And then what I'm going to do is also just speed up the process where I'm going to create the handle. It's very similar to what I've done here with the main section. So I'm just going to copy over one of that part of that little spout coming down, and then I'm just going to create the handle here with that by just dragging some of these guys out and making a little bit of profile going on here. We're just going to attach it to the bottom. We're not going to like extrude anything out like we did with the main cylinder section there, where the coffee is going to come out. So pretty much that's pretty straightforward. Now I'm just focusing on scale and size and just kind of blending this guy all together. So it looks like it's attached. We're just going to kind of push it into the geometry here for this part. Alright, so we're looking pretty good, as I think it's just about the scale. And then also now, if we go in, we're going to I'll even keep it speeded up for this area where we're going to put in our on and off switch here. So we're just going to drag out, let's see here, I'm just going to move the vertices over, and we're going to collapse our open subdivisions, and that way we can get some more detail. I'm just going to do actually a manual cut and start to kind of shape out the area where we're going to have that on and off button. Okay, so what I'm doing here is just trying to get ourselves a little bit of a hole going where we can start to, we just want to make sure we're uniform and no distortion. So I'm just kind of moving things up without creating any bends or anything strange. Alright, so just keeping an eye on that. So moving these guys around, and we got something like this. We're going to copy the edge over, and then we're going to cap and create another little section here, and that's going to be our button. So I'm just going to round it off and straighten it out on the front view. Okay, just because this video is getting a little bit long, so I am speeding up this part. Hopefully you guys get the idea of what I'm doing here. You can see kind of the process of getting this guy into place. Alright, so we have something like that. I'm just kind of moving things in and just seeing what works. It's looking not too bad. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is add a little bit of a I want to add a detail where it's going to be like maybe a light or some kind of ring, like a lighting in there, so that it's like when it's on, you're going to see something. So let's almost like it's turned on. So this is kind of give it a little bit of a modern look. So let's just grab the edges here and then copy over, and then we can now add a emissive material. We get a nice blue, something like this. All right, a little brighter, but you get the idea. And that's going to look cool. Looks like it's turned on there. It gives it a modern look. And now we can get to the tray. So let's slow it down. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we are going to take the faces here, okay, of this tray, and we're going to detach. So we get something like this here. Alright, and that should do. So now we're going to grab the edge. Actually, better yet, I think what we should do, instead of putting the edges like this, let's go into shell modifier. Okay, and get some thickness. Okay, we'll get something like that. And what this is going to allow us to do is, now that we have a shell, so bring this up a little bit, maybe bring it down. Let's get a little bit of a gap. can now start to add an editable poly to this. You can select these guys. And these as well. The bottom section. Get an inset so we get a little bit of an edge going. So when we turn it on, we have a little bit of a sharper edge to it, and it's starting to, there we go, it's starting to look right. Okay, we'll center our pivot, and we can bring this up a little bit or down. Something like this. And bring it a little bit more up. So what we're going to do next is we are going to take some cylinders here that I've laid out, all right, and evenly kind of place them here like so. We're going to hold shift and just offset them a bit so they're kind of like in the center, like so, of each, in between the two. So we get something like that. Delete that guy out, and now we can just select, let's convert this, let's see here. Okay, let's convert this to an editable poly, and I can just use the attach function here, and we can select all of our cylinders from here to here, okay, and attach. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold shift and drag out, and just by eye I'm going to pretty much place this down, and we'll make some copies. See if 8 will get us there. No. Gotta drag it out a little bit again. Let's try that again. Let's over exaggerate it a bit. Okay, we'll shift, drag out. Let's do maybe 13. Yes, okay. Nailed it. Alright, so now, once we got those in place, we just delete some of these guys out. And I'm just gonna go have some fun and attach these guys manually. Whoop. I think that's just misbehaving there. That's okay. Attach these guys together as we get it as one. Let's select all these guys here, and let's go into the plate. Let's add a Boolean modifier and subtract mode. We're just going to select the cylinders. Okay, and we're just going to wait for a minute, and voila, we have a nice Boolean operation here. And I would say let's use maybe a chamfer towards the edge, but I got an idea. We can use Arnold's round corners. Let's do that. Okay, so we'll go into our material here. We're going to go to our normal, and we're going to go to bump, and make a, we're going to do the rounded corner node here. Okay, round corners. And we can play with the radius a little bit. 0.5, 0.2, and you can see that we get a really good result here without even having to mess with the mesh itself. We could just rely on the material. And most render engines do have a rounded corner feature, but yeah, this looks really good and believable. Very high detail and great for close-up shots. As you can see, we can get real close and it looks really good. So yeah, even underneath. Alright, so that's going to work for our grate or our plate here. That it's going to give us some details, so when we start to add in our mug or our final product shot here, that's going to really look good. Alright, so that should do it for that. And now we can start to move on to our next pieces. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on the bottom piece here. So what I've had to do is pretty much select the bottom and cap it. And now I separated the element, and now I made a black material that will go on the bottom. As like, and we can then eventually put the rubber legs to it, or little stoppers there that will finish this bottom section off. But for now, we just want to get kind of like a bottom material. So something more like towards a darker plastic. Something like this. Okay, oh, and our flakes are looking really good. I'm really liking that. So yeah, this is all looking good. All the work that we've done down here. Let me just scale this downwards a bit. I'm just kind of doing some final tweaks. But yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, that's looking good. So we got our bottom pieces in. We got our creases in the where the edges are. It's just giving us a nice beveled edges. We got our light in there now. We got our on and off switch. Yeah, this is looking pretty good so far. I think now we just have to focus on getting our handle. So what I've done here was I just added a glass in and merged it just to get it in there in place, just to see it for scale. We're not going to get into all the how to make a mug right now. I'll get into another tutorial some other day. I have some older tutorials on my channel that shows how to create a mug, but we'll definitely be re-looking at those of doing something like that. But for now, let's drag in a white surface here just to kind of get some light bouncing going on and some reflection into the chrome. That's going to help with getting it to be more that gray that we're looking for. And maybe if I even, let's see here, you can see if I'm playing around with the floor properties here. Yeah, if I can just, let's see here. You can see the difference when you take your specular reflections off. I do like it on because I want to see, yeah, that looks good. Let's see here, get it around. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we are going to focus on creating this handle. Alright, and I'm just going to, it's going to be pretty straightforward. So let's go to the front view here. Okay, I'm going to turn on my grid by hitting the G key. And I mean, there's so many different ways we can go about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the line tool here. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of draw this little profile here. Maybe something like that. Use the lathe. Gonna now make sure these guys are center, and let's flip, which I will weld and flip. Okay, so we get something like this. Go back to the line tool. And just bring these guys in. Like so. Okay, we'll make sure weld core is on. Just come back up in here. This is off position here. I'm just going to fix that. Now, I don't know. Okay, something like this, right? Okay. this to an editable poly. Actually, before I do that, I just want to change a little bit of the shape here. Okay, so let's go in and let's just kind of flatten this out a bit. Okay, and I'll just grab these guys, maybe bring them up. Try to look at this. This is a little bit different. Okay, but it's okay. You don't have to be exactly. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. It's up to you. The world's your oyster. Something like that. Okay. And then let's convert this to editable poly. What I want to do is just make sure, because I believe this was welded, but I just want to make sure they are. I think they are. Yeah. Okay, we can now, I'm just going to come up in here, so select this vertex here, hold Control, click on the face. Let's grow this a bit. Extrude. Okay. And then what we could do is chamfer here. We can also chamfer down here, or up here. Better yet. Okay. What else we got here? Now, if you want, let's see if I can get the shape to look a little bit different. Let's bring these guys outwards. Or maybe I'll angle this. See if that's going to make sense. We'll use our angle snap just to kind of go 90 degrees. Maybe rotate it. Maybe something like this. Bring it so that the edge is just a bit over like so. I don't know, I was just thinking of something that with this edge would sense. It's not too bad. What I'm going to do is we can model this in, or I'm just going to place it in here like so. Bring that up. Go to the top view here. Just might want this to be angled like that. Let's see here. I'm going to take our pivot. Let's bring our pivot over here, roughly. And then let's just angle this down. Go to local mode here. Pull it down just slightly. Maybe like 5 degrees. So 5. Yeah. That might be a little much. So let's take the angle snaps off. Just bring it like that. Okay, so I might want to add a little bit of detail here. I'll call this handle. Oops. Grow this. Okay, I'm going to grab this edge, whichever. I'm going to grab this center vertex. We'll grow it one more time, and then we'll just bring it inwards, something like that. I might even grab this guy, hit ring, hit connect. Let's do a chamfer here. Ring, control, click on face mode, hold shift, drag one, hold shift again, drag again, and hold shift one more time to get that additional edge down there. That makes sense. So you're going to have the 2 and 2, because that way when you add in your open subdivision, you'll see what happens here. You get this kind of details in there, right? So you get that little extra edge in there. If I don't know if you can see that little highlight there, that's what we're doing. Alright, so we get that kind of detail. It's a little different than this one. That's okay. Right, maybe it needs to be a little bit bigger. Okay, even if you want, let's see what happens if we did a push. Yeah, maybe that's a little much. 8.3. Yeah, this is a pretty big handle, so. Okay. Let's not do the push. I got an idea. What we're going to do is we're going to grab. There's always a way. So we're just going to grab these points. I'm going to go soft selection. And let's see what we got here. We have it going all the way over here. So if I was to scale that, we're going to scale all of that. That's not what I want to do. So I'm going to bring down the fall off. So we get maybe here. Okay, so we're going to get more of the. Yeah, we're doing that. And then we have something like this. Alright, so right now, this you know, doing something like this is kind of a cheat in a way, but I'm going to rely a little bit on the on the round corners that Arnold gives here. That's going to really kind of help sell that this is all kind of binded into one. What I need to do right now is separate the two. So I'm going to go to Editable Poly here, and let's just grab this guy here. We're going to grow all the way through. And then what we're going to do is we're going to detach this area. If we can do it as an element. See what happens. So we'll go to our material editor. Okay, and let's look for, I think we could use the same material as the grate. So I'm just going to hit play on the IPR. Okay, so this is a little bit too much into the grate there. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, back to this. I'm just going to clean this up. I'm going to select the grate, and let's put it here like so. What you should see that looks like it's kind of blended in there, which looks really good. It's not bad. From this distance here, can't really tell. It's nothing to feel bad about. Alright, so let's work on our handle material here. That should be pretty straightforward. So I'm going to isolate it. So what I want to do is let's select this guy here. Let's create a new material. Arnold material surface. Okay. Standard surface material. Okay, give me one moment here. Control I, let's detach this completely. Okay, so now once that we have these guys added in, you can see this is meshed up with this part here, and then we have this little back part that's the chrome that's kind of matching this here. We can now give ourselves a nice black plastic material that's shiny and acts as the handle, like so. There. So we have something like this. Okay, and then all we have to do now is add that little piece that you would have the espresso coming out of. And as you can see, we have this kind of like, it's almost like a little bit of like a moon shape piece here, where the espresso will just kind of come out like a faucet onto both sides. So that's like a little bit of a curve. So we can easily make this. So let's go do that. And that will pretty much finalize this tutorial. So let's go do that. Okay, move the grid. all we have to do is grab this guy like so. Actually, what I might do is just grab, we're going to do one more of those. Actually, let's do 4. Convert this to editable poly. Okay, let's center this guy. Alright, let's just bring down these guys. Let's bring down this guy a little bit here, like so. So we're going to go to symmetry. Just going to modify it like that. Just taper that down a little bit here. And I made this little 2 thing, so let's just bring that out. Okay, we'll delete these faces so we get something kind of like this. And also there. We can hit shell modifier. Okay, maybe do something like that. And we can also try to do a chamfer. Okay, that's not going to work. So we got to go to our try here. Let's bring down the size. Actually, I might even go with quad. It's better. Copy this guy over. Okay, once you got that, what's going on here? Yeah. Okay, so you got to make sure that you take your that's a little bit lower. Let's go back into, let's just do turbo smooth. Okay, we also have a problem here, so let's see what's going on. Actually, I could probably just get away with that. Okay. Got a little bit more thickness to this. Okay, we can push this up a little bit into here. Not too much, but enough that it's going to make some sense here. And then we're just going to kind of rotate this a bit. There we go. Okay, and then I just want to scale this up just a bit more. drag it down a little bit, scale it in the Z. Let's get a little bit more of an arch. And actually, I might even scale it down in the Y. Squish it up just a bit. Something like maybe like that. Okay? And then that way it would just run through here. Just want to make sure it's a little more center here. Okay, and then let's just give this one same material. It'd help if I can see it. So let's drag this over. Let's go like this here. Let's hit play. And I think we're good to get a final render going here, or at least let's just see if we can get one and what we're up against here. But I think this is going to be pretty much the conclusion of this tutorial, and I hope you can learn something from it. But let's see what happens here. So let's just see if that's going to make more sense. And that looks good. Right, if you wanted to, you could go out and put a graphic up in here. But yeah, that's looking pretty cool. All right, let's get a high-res render going, and let's just see what kind of work we put into this thing. All right, guys, here we are with the final render, and I just pretty much set up a quick, simple backdrop here with just a light above and a light on the side here, and then the rest is HDR. But what we have here is just pretty cool looking final shot. We could see that we have the nice flakes and the bit of noise for the eggshell paint. And then down here we have the detail of our tray and the glass and the little extra piece that we've added, our handle. But other than that, that's looking pretty good. It's our water container. A little button here with the light. And yeah, that's pretty cool looking. Yeah, I hope you guys learned a lot from this tutorial. You can create your own, I don't know, espresso machine or consumer product. And this is just kind of a rough idea of something that I just came up with the sketch, and then pretty much built that from ground up. And thanks guys for watching, and hope to see you in the next tutorials where we're going to be bringing some more to you. So we'll catch you later, and that's it. Have a good day.